Boys and girls, today I want to show you how to find equivalent fractions using fraction strips. In class we usually call them candy bars. The lessons over the next few days are going to focus a lot on circles and things that look like a pie or a pizza pie. I think the fraction strips like I'm showing you here are a lot easier to use. So I just want to go over them quickly and so we can find equivalent fractions or fractions that mean about the same thing. The top one is always one whole, so we have just 1 over 1, or we usually just write 1, okay? And then as we look here, we have 2 halves take up the same amount of length or width as the 1 whole. So 2 halves equal 1 whole. And those tend to be easier to figure out. We've done that a lot. If we look at fourths, we have 4 fourths equal to the 1 whole, and the 1 whole ends right here. 4 fourths ends right there also. It gets a little trickier to think about fractions that mean the same or which fraction is bigger when the denominators are different. The bottom number of your fraction is different. So if I look at, let's say, 1/2. Let's look at 1/2 here. So I'm going to look at 1/2 right there and find a fraction that is equivalent to 1/2. And in order to do that, I need to see that 1/2 ends right there where my red line is, and I can extend that straight down and find other fractions that also have that mark. I'm going to draw a little black line, that mark right there, okay? So that mark, and I'll just follow that all the way down. And we do, just in this little picture that I've zoomed in on, we have 2 of them. We have fourths, and there are 2 of those, so 2 fourths. And if I look at sixths, they also end on that line, so 3 sixths equal 1/2. And if I zoom out, I can continue that red line down a little bit, and we see that we end up with 4/8 are equivalent to 1/2, and if we count all these twelfths right here, there are 6 of those. So 6/12 equals 1/2. The other thing we can do, as I try not to erase everything, there we go. The other thing we can do is find fractions that are larger or smaller than another one. So if I look at, let's look at 2 sixths, and we'll compare that to 2/3. It's really easy to see that 2/3 is bigger than 2 sixths. Okay? If we look at, and now those are fractions that had the same numerator but a different denominator. Let's look at fractions that have different numerators and different denominators. So if I look at, let's say 2/3, and I'm going to compare that to 5/8. Again, we can easily see here that 2/3 is bigger than 5/8. Excuse me. Okay, 2/3 is bigger than 5/8. If I want to find an equivalent fraction for 2/3, I just find where 2/3 ends right here, draw a line straight down, and I have a couple other fractions that will work there. If I look at my sixths, we get 4 sixths equals 2/3. And if we look at twelfths, that also ends on that red line. And we have, I have to count those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 twelfths is equivalent to 2/3, or the same as 2/3, and 4 sixths. So I really suggest either making your own set of fraction strips just like this, or you can even just go online, print one out, and use the fraction strips to help you find equivalent fractions over the next couple of days and to figure out which fraction is bigger or smaller using these fraction strips. They will really pay off. So I'll leave a link to the video each day, but I really suggest getting your own copy on paper that you can use each day. All right, boys and girls, that's it for me on this video. As always, I'm Mr. P, and I'm out.